Now let's implement the inbox page. So let's open the Explorer and go to src and pages and dashboard. And here, let's open the inbox page. Well, this is the inbox page. Let's import some components that we need. First, let's close the Explorer. And I import the use effect and use state from the React. Then I need iMessageDTO, and also I need Axios instance and my message URL, and also the toast and the spinner component, and also we need the moment, and I need two icons of MD input and MD output, and also I need use out hook, and I use all of them inside of this component. So after that, let's create some states here. Before the states, first I destructure the user from the use out because I need this user. Then let's create a message and also a set message, and we will create a user state for it with the type of iMessageDTO array, and I will use an empty array for it, so the messages would be an empty array in the initial phase. After that, let's create a const of loading and the set loading, which equals to user state with the type of boolean, and also I use the initial value of false for it, and this is it. After that, I will create a const of get my message function, which is an asynchronous arrow function to get my message from the backend, and inside of that I will use a try catch, and in the try first I set the loading to the true to show the spinner to the user, and after that I use const of response equals to await of Axios instance dot get, and for the type of the response I use iMessageDTO array, and I will send my message URL to this Axios instance dot get, and after that I will destructure the data from this response, and I need this data, so after that I will use the set message of data, and I will set this data to the message state, and after that I will set the loading to false. So this is in the case of the try and the success, but on the catch block, which is the case of failure, I will receive this error, and after that I will send the toast.error with the message of an error happened, please contact the admins, and then I use the set loading of false. This is it, and I will use this get my message in a new use effect. So let's minimize this, and after this get my message, let's create a use effect hook, and here I simply call get my message. This is it. So after mounting the component, this get message would be called, and that's it. So let's continue, and after this use effect I will check that if the loading state is true, I will simply return a new division, and in this division I will use a class name of Vita full, and I will use this spinner component. That's it. So let's format the document. So if the loading is true, we return this, else we will come to the final return section. So let's delete this, and here I will use a class name of page template 2, and inside of this division I want to use a new h1, and inside of it I will use inbox, and we need some class names like text to x large and font of bold. So let's use format document. So we have this division, and first we have this h1. After this, let's have a new division here, and for this division let's use the class name of page template of 3 and also items stretch. Then I will use a new division here, and I will use class names of grid and also grid columns of 8 and also padding of 2 and border of 2 and also border gray of 200 and rounded up LG. So I will using this grid for some sort of tables like the previous section. So let's use some spans with the date and also another span with type. Then I want to have another span with class names of called span of 4. So this will take 4 columns, and I will use text for it. And after that, let's have another span for the sender as well as another span for receiver. So let's use formatted document. So inside this division, I'm using these spans, and after these divisions, let's open a curly brace to use JavaScript. And here I will use messages.map, and I will map over them. So I want to receive the item, and I will return a new division with the key of item.id, and let's use the format document. So this is it. We need to map over the messages and we create a new structure with the a structure like this. So you know what? I think we can copy these classes from here. So let's copy these class names and check it. Exactly, we need them. So for the main division inside of the map, after the key, I will use again the classes of grid and grid columns of 8, padding of 2, border of 2, border gray of 200, and rounded up LG, exactly like the top. After that, we need to have some spans. So let's use the spans like this. So let's copy all of this again and reuse them here. So let's use the format document. This is it. So for the first one, I want to delete state, and I will open a curly brace and I use moment of item dot created at dot from node. This is it. So for the first one, I use the moment of item dot created at dot from node, and after that, instead of this, because we have two different types, I open a curly brace here and I will check that if the item dot sender username equals to user dot username, I will use the MD output icon with class names of text switch large with text purple of 500. Else, I will use MD input with class name of text switch large and text green of 500. So we will use MD output and MD input, and they are coming from React icons /MD. And this is, let's format the document again. So for the second span, we use this, and this is for the type. After that, we have the text. So let's delete this, and I will use the item.text. Then we have the sender. So after this, we have the item.sender username, and for the final one, we can have item.receiver username, and then we have this division, and we finished everything. Then we export default the inbox. So let's use the format document. This is it. So I think it's okay. And let's go and check this on the front end. So let's log into our website. I use, for example, Mehmet for the username and its password, and login was successful. Let's go to the inbox. For example, you can see that for this, I have this icon of output. This is the input and this is the output. So the sender is Mehmet. Mehmet is the logged in user. So this is an output message. The receiver was user2. And here you can see that this is an input. So the text is hi Mehmet, and the sender was user2, and the receiver was the Mehmet, who is the logged in user. So this is it. This is the inbox page. And let's go back to our VS Code. So this was the inbox page, and I think it's okay and it's completed. So let's go to the next task. After the inbox page, I want to implement the next page, which is related to inbox, and it is all messages. Let's find it. This is it. The difference is the the inbox page is accessible by all users, but the all message is protected and it is accessed just by the owner and the admins. So let's first import the required components and the functions here. Here we need to import the use effect and the user state, and also we need the iMessage DTO and Axios instance. Also we need all message URL and toast and a spinner component, and also we need moment. This is it. So let's go and create our required states here. But because again we are working with the message, I think we can copy some of the required codes from the inbox page. So let's check it. We don't need the user anymore, but we need these two. So let's copy these two states from the inbox page that we created it right now. So const of message and set message equals to a user state with the type of iMessage DTO array, and we use an empty array for its default values. Then we can use the loading and set loading again. We need it, and also we need a function to call all of the message. So let's copy this function and use it again. So in this time, instead of get my message, we can use the name of get all message, because this is not my message. So for the get all message, again we are using an asynchronous function, and on the try we can use the set loading of true. That's okay. So after that we can use const of response equals to await of Axios instance dot get with the return type of iMessage DTO array, and for the URL of it we can use all message URL, because it's different. And let's check it. So in the global config, you can see that the all message URL equals to /message, but my message URL equals to /message/my. This is it. Let's go back to the all message. So we use the all message URL inside of the Axios instance.get as the URL. Then we can destructure the data from the response, and we use the set message of data. So we store this data in the message state. After that, we can use set loading of false. Then in the catch, again, we can use the same methods, and we use the toast.error of and error happened with please contact admins and set loading of false. Good. Let's copy the next line because we need again the use effect. So let's copy it. And after this, I will use the use effect of this, and in this use effect, I will call this function. Let's use format document. So we use this function to get all messages from the server. Then in the use effect, we call it. That's it. Then we need to check the loading. So let's go here and copy this. You can again use this same business logic here. And after this use effect, in the all message, I say that if the loading state is true, please return a division with class names of with full. And I use an spinner component in this situation. And I think it's okay. Then let's go to the final one. And here we can use class names of, and before this class names, before that, let's check it. I think it's a good idea to copy all of these and use it. So let's minimize this and copy it. And now let's go back here, and instead of this, let's paste it. Good and easy. So let's use the format document and check everything. The first thing is we have a division with class name of page template 2. That's okay. Then we have an h1 with text 2x large and font bold, but instead of inbox, I think we can use all message. After that, we can have this division with class name of page template 3 and item stretch. Then we have a division again with the grid. The classes are good for us, and that's it. After that, we have this date, and then we have the type and the text and the sender and the receiver. But this time we don't want to use the type. Why? Because we don't have the input and the output. This is the all message. So let's delete this type. We just need to have the date and the text and the sender and the receiver. And that's it. So this time we have, you can see that this is a grid with grid columns of 8. So we can have 8 columns. This is 4, 5, and 6 and 7. So we can change these two, column span of 5. And also let's change this. So it would take 5 columns this time. That's better. Then we have the date span and the text span and the sender and a receiver. This is it. So you can either change this grid to grid columns of 7, or a better idea is to use column span of 5. This is the grid related content. So let's continue our all message page. And then after the sender and receiver, the div is finished, and we have the message.map again. That's okay. We have a division with key of item.id. That's good. Again, we have the grid and the other classes. They are all good. And again, we have the span with moment of item.created.from now. It will work again. Then we have a span, and we use for the MD output and the MD input icon, but this time we don't need it. So let's delete this. And we have a span with class name of colon span of 5 with item.text. Then we have item.sender username and item.receiver username. So I think it's okay. Let's format the document and let's check the result on the front end. And here first, let's refresh to be sure about everything. So you can see that the user is owner. So let's check the all message, and you can see that we have access to all message because we are owner. We can see that, for example, for 2 months ago, this was the text, the sender was Muhammad and user 2. And the next one was between user 1 and the user 9, user 2 and Muhammad, user 6 and user 1. And this logged in user can see all messages of the system because he has owner access. Let's see the other access, for example, for the typical users. For example, user 6, let's log in and see the result. Well, I am a user, so if I go to the inbox, I can see any sort of message that I am either a sender or a receiver. For example, here I am the I'm user 6. So here I'm the sender and here I'm the receiver. This is the inbox. But if I go to the all message, well, we will be redirected automatically to /unauthorized. That's so good. Then let's check a manager, for example, user 2, log out and log in. This is a manager. So we have the user role of manager. And if I go to inbox, well, I have access to any type of messages that the sender or the receiver is user 2. And if I check the all message, I don't have access. Good. Let's log out and let's find an admin. For example, this is user 1. This is an admin. If I log in, inbox, yes, I have access to inbox. And all message, yes, I have access to all message because I'm an admin and we checked the owner previously. So everything is okay and everything is fine. So I think everything is okay. Let's continue and let's close these. And also let's minimize everything and go to the next section. Now I want to create a new page for the sending message. But before that, I want to create a component for the usernames combo box. So let's create it. And I need to go to the SRC and I want to create a new component. So let's go to the components, then go to the dashboard. And here we need to create a new folder for it. So let's create a new folder for the send message. And inside of this, let's create a new file with name of the username combobox.tsx. And here I will use RAFCE. This is it. First, let's delete this React. I just need to import the use state from the React, and then I will import the control and the controller from React hook form because we need to use the React hook form inside of this component. And I will create an interface of iProps for this component. And for the props, what do we need? The first thing is we need to receive the usernames as a string array. After that, we need to receive a control, which is a type of control of any and any. This generic control is coming from React hook form. After that, I need to receive a name as the string, and also I can have an error, which is type of a string, and it is optional. So this is it. And after this, we need to receive some props. So let's destructure all of them from the iProps, which are a username, and so the control and the name and the error. So we receive all of them from the props and destructure them. And I will create a new state for the input value and set input value, which is a user state with a default value of an empty string and the type of a string. And after that, let's have another state with the name of show combo box and set show combo box, which equals to a user state with type of boolean, and I will use a default value of false for it. So this is it. And after that, I will use a const of render top row, which equals to an arrow function. And in this arrow function, I want to decide the top row content. So I use that if the error exists, I can simply return a new span with the class names of textred of 600 and font of semibold and the value of error. So if error exists, I will return this span. Else, I will return a new label with the class name of font of semibold and 2. This is it. And after that, let's create a new let of usernames to show a variable which equals to if the input value exists, we will use the usernames.filter and we receive the queue, and we will check that if the queue includes the input value, else we use usernames. And after that, let's create a const of dynamic class name, which equals to, we will check that if the error exists, we will use the values of border of 500 and rounded up LG, else we use border of this color. So let's use the format document. So what we have done in these three different sections, let's have some enter. So we created the const of render top row function, and we check if the error exists, we will return this span, else we return this label. Then we have a usernames to show, and if the input value exists, we will filter the usernames with the values that includes this input value, else we return the all usernames. Then we created this const of dynamic class names, and if we have error, we simply return a border of red of 500. That's it. Then let's continue and work on the final section. So here we have a division. Let's delete this. And for the main division, let's have some class names of padding x of 4 and also margin y of 2 and width of 75%. So this is it. After this, I want to first render the top row, and this render top row would be dynamically rendered from this section. This is it. So let's use the format document. That's it. And after this, let's have the structure for it. So I want to use a controller. So what do we need for this controller? The first thing is we need to have a name for it. So I will receive this from the props. I will use name. After that, I want to receive the control. So I'm receiving this control from the props. And after that, I want to have the render section. This render section will render everything for us. So inside of that, what do we need to have? We need to receive the variables of it. So we will receive them, but I will destructure them and I will receive the field. And I will return fragment inside of it. So let's just format the document for it. So we have this controller and we have a name and a control and a render for it. So inside of this render, you can see the structure of it. We have the render. Inside of that, we use an arrow function, and for the input of this arrow function, we are receiving something, and we can destructure it and we can receive the field from it. And then we can return this fragment, and inside this fragment we can have an input. Now let's use the format document to see it better. Well, this is it. So what do we need for this input? For the type, I will use a text. Then I have the autocomplete, so I use off for this autocomplete. And after that, I can have some class names of dynamic class names. So I will calculate the class names of this input here, and I will use them inside of my input. After that, let's use the value which equals to input value, and then let's use an unchanged. So on the unchanged, you know that we can receive an arrow function, and for this arrow function, we will receive the event, and then we use that. If the show combo box is false, we will use the set show combo box to true, and then we use the let value equals to event.target. So we destructure the value from the event.target. Then we will set the input value to this value, and after that we will call the field dot unchanged with this value. So this value would be passed to the React hook form, and after that we check that if the username dot includes the value, we can use the set show combo box of false, and after that we can use an onFocus, and on the onFocus we again use an arrow function and we set the show combo box to true. And this is it, and this is for the input. So let's use the format document. So inside of the render, first we created this input. This is it. And after this input, we want to render the show combo box. Let's open a curly brace and we check that if the show combo box equals to true, and also the usernames to show that length is greater than 0, we need to return a new division. So let's create it. And for this division, let's a class name of relative. And you know that when we want to use an absolute, we use this relative. So this is it. And inside of this, let's use another division. And for this division, let's use class names of absolute, and also padding of 2, and top of 0, and also left of 0, and right of 0, and bg gray of 200. So let's use a format document. Well, it is not working. You can see that the parent here has error. Why? Because we are using show combo box and username to show that length. If greater than 0, we use this, but we need to check the other case. So we can say that if it is not true, you can use null. So I think no, it's okay. Let's use the format document. Well, now we can see it better. So let's minimize this input and work on the next one, which is this section. So we have a division with class name of relative. Inside of that, we have another division. Else we have null. So inside of the second division, we want to map over the user. So let's open a curly brace, and inside of that, I use the usernames to show dot map, and inside of that, you know that we can use an arrow function. So for the map function, you know that we receive the item and index always, and then I want to return a division. So for each division, I use a key of index, and also I want to use some class names like padding of 1 and margin of 2, and also bg of white and rounded of lg and font of semibold and cursor of pointer. That's it. Then we need to have an onClick for this division, and I will use an arrow function inside of this onClick, and I will use the set input value of item. Then I want to use set show combo box of false, and then I will call the field dot onChange of item. This is it, and inside of this division we want to show the item. So this is it, and let's use the format document again. No, I think it's completed. So what we have done, the first thing is we used a render top row, then we created the controller, and this controller is coming from React hook form, and inside of that we use the name and the control, and we receive them from the prop. Then inside the render we use this field, and we will render first an input. Then after this input we use this show combo box and usernames to show that length greater than 0, and if this is true we render this division, else we render null. And inside of this division we want to show all of the usernames that to show array, and we will show all of them to the user, and you will see them soon inside of the front end. So I think everything is okay, and the usernames combo box component is true. So let's go to the next section and use it. In this section, let's go and work on the next page, which is SendMessage page. So let's go to the pages and the dashboard, and let's open the SendMessage. So it's here. Let's minimize it. And in first step, let's import the required components and functions. So I import the user state and use effect, and also I need to use the create message URL and usernames list URL, and also I need the Axios instance to send a request to the backend, and also we need toast, and we need the spinner component, and we need the username combo box, and also we need YAP, and also the use form and the YAP resolvers, and also I send message DTO and input field, and also we need the button, and we need to import the use navigate, and also path of dashboard. So we need all of them. Now let's go and create some states and implement our page. In first step, let's create a new state for the usernames, and I use the usernames and set username equals to a user state with the type of string array, and I will use an default value of empty array for it. Then let's create another one with the loading and set loading, which equals to a user state with the type of boolean and also default value of false. And also after that I want to use the const of navigate equals to use navigate, because I want to navigate my user and I want to use it. So this is it. Let's continue. And I want to create a new const of send message schema, which equals to yap.object.shape, and I want to send an object to it. So let's use an object, and inside this object I say that I have the receiver username, which equals to yap.string.required, and for the required I can use a message of username is required, and also I use .one of usernames and the message of invalid username. So we can check that if the receiver username is one of these usernames array or not, and we can send this message for its validation. This is it. It can help us a lot. And after this, let's have another field for the text, and I use yap.string.required with the message of message text is required. So let's use the format document. So this is the schema that we need to use for the React hook form. And after that, I want to destructure the use for required components and the functions like the control and also the handle submit and form state. And I just want the error, so I destructure the errors from the form state. Then I want to use the reset, and I say that all of them are destructuring from the use form. And for this use form, I use the type of I send message DTO. Let's see it. So instead of I send message DTO, we have just the receiver username and the text. So let's close it and go back to the SendMessage Page.tsx. And here, inside of this use form, we can pass as an object to it. And for the first one, we use the resolver, and I use the YAP resolver of this send message schema for the resolver. After that, we can use the default values for our form, and I can simply use another object with the receiver username with the value of empty string and also a text with value of empty string. So this is for the React hook form, and let's use the format document. Then I create a const of get username list to get the list of the usernames from the backend, and I say this is an asynchronous arrow function. And inside of that, you know that we always use a try catch block. It's a good idea. And inside of the try block, I use the set loading of true. After that, I say const of response equals to await of Axios instance dot get, and for the return type of it, I use an string array, and I say that your URL is usernames list URL. This is it, and this is coming. You can see that this is coming from util global config. That's good. And after that, we are receiving a response. So I destructure the data from the response, and after that, I use the set usernames of this data, and also I set the loading to false. So this is for the try block, and on the catch block, we will check that if we have any error. So I say the toast.error of an error happened, please contact the admins and set the loading to false. This is it, and this is the get users name list. So I can simply use a use effect. This is it. I don't need this return. And I say that inside of this use effect, you can use the get users name list function. So let's use the format document. So this would be called, this get users name list would be called when the component is mounted, and we will receive the list of the usernames, and we set it to usernames array. So this is it, and after this use effect, let's create another function. I will create a const of onSubmit SendMessage form, which is an asynchronous arrow function, and inside of this function, I'm going to receiving the submit data from the type of iSendMessageDTO, and inside of this onSubmit SendMessage form, again, we use the try catch block. Why? Because we are going to work with the backend, and it's a better idea to use try catch block. So what we need to do inside of this try block? First, I use the set loading of true, and after that, I use the const of new message with type of iSendMessageDTO equals to an object, and in this object, I want to have receiver username with value of submitted data dot receiver username, and also I want to have text with value of submitted data dot text. And after this, I want to use await of Axios instance dot post. So I will send this data to the create message URL, and also I use this new message object. So inside of this post method, this is the URL, and this is the data that we are sending. So after waiting for this, we use the set loading of false, and then I use a toast.success with the message of your message sent successfully, and after that I will use the navigate to the path of dashboard.inbox. This is it. So we will redirect our user to the path of dashboard.inbox, and this is it. Else, if you have any type of error, we will go into the catch block. So I will use the set loading of false, and after that I will use the reset. This reset is coming here from the React hook form. That's it. And after the resetting the form, we'll use the const of error, which equals to error as a new type with the data of a string and the status with type of number. Why we are using this? Because again, this error is unknown, and we want to use this data, so we create a new type for it. And after that, we will check that if the error.status equals to 400, what we need to do, we need to use a toast.error of error.data that is coming from the backend. Else, we can simply use a toast.error with an error occurred, please contact admin. So we will cover all type of errors, and let's use the format document, and I think the onSubmit is completed. So let's minimize it and go to the next line, and we check that if the loading is true, we can simply return a new division with class name of full, and inside of that we use the spinner. So if we are on the loading state, we use this spinner, else we will go to the main return. So let's delete this, and here we can use the class name of page template 2, and inside of that, let's have an h1 with the value of send message, and I want to have some class names for it, like text of 2x large and also font of bold. So let's use format document again. So we have a division and h1. what we need to do after this h1, I want to have a new division, and for this division, we want to use the class names of page template 3, and also I use items of stretch. And inside of this division, let's use a form tag of HTML, and for this form, I use the onSubmit, and on onSubmit, I will use the handle submit with onSubmit send message form. So this handle submit will receive the form's data and send them to this onSubmit send message form function. After that, let's have a component of UsernamesComboBox, and for the usernames, I use this usernames state. For the control, we are using this control. For the name, we use receiver username, and also for the errors, we check the errors.receiver usernames.message. So if the errors.receiver username exist, we will send a message of it to the error. And after that, let's have another component of input field and use the control for its control, and I use the text for its label and use the input name for its text, and also the errors.text.message for its errors. And now we have the usernames combo box and input field. After this, let's use a new division, and for this division, let's use some class names like the flex and the justify center, and also items of center and gap of 4 and margin top of 6. And inside this division, I just want to have two buttons. The first one is a button with variant of secondary, and also a type of button and the label of discard, and also on click I will navigate my user to the path of dashboard.inbox. And also after that, I want to have another button with a variant of primary, and I will use type of submit, and I use a label of send, and on click I just send an empty function to it. I don't want to use anything for it on click, and for the loading I will use loading. So I think everything is okay, and this is finished, and this is the send message box. So let's use the format document and go to the front end and check the result until now to see do we have any error or not. So I'm on the dashboard, and I'm on the all message with the name of owner. So I'm an owner. Let's refresh to be sure about everything. And now let's go to the send message. Well, this is our send message, and we have a to and a text. So you can see that by clicking on the to, the list would be open, and we can see list of all of the users of our website. So who am I? I'm Mehmet, and I want to send a new message, let's say to the Johnny. So I call the Johnny and I say, hi Johnny, and let's open the network tab here using the inspect. Let's go to the network to see the network send and the request result. So I selected the Johnny and I'm using the hi Johnny. So let's use send, and your message sent successfully, and I redirected automatically to the /inbox, and you can see that I used this create and the message saved successfully. Then I'm receiving these mine from the backend. So let's close it and check the result. So I redirected automatically to the /inbox. So you can see that a few seconds ago I have a new message. I was the sender, so I can see this output icon, and the text was hi Johnny, and the sender was Mehmet, and the receiver was Johnny. So let's log in with this Johnny to see do we receive this or not. So I log out and I use the login. So I go to the inbox, and here you can see that a few seconds ago I received this hi Johnny from the Mehmet. So I know I'm the Johnny. I logged in with this Johnny. So I am the receiver and the sender was Mehmet. So the icon is input. And can I, as a Johnny, can I send a message? Let's test. If I go to send message and I use this tool, if I click on it, the list would be automatically open. We created this really useful component here. And for example, I want to send a message to the, let's say, user 7, and I say, hello. That's it. So from the Johnny, I'm sending a message from Johnny to user 7. Let's use the send, and your message sent successfully. So good, and we will redirect it automatically to the inbox, and you can see that I have this new one, the hello from the Johnny to the user 7, and this icon is automatically the output because now we are the sender. So this is the send message, and you can see that we can send message, and in the inbox we can see the result of all the sent message and the received message, and that's it.